Tonight I'd like to introduce Teri Almquist, my guest, who is the owner of Bikram Yoga, Merrimack Valley, located in North Andover. Welcome, Teri.
It's nice to see you, Kathy.
You too. Thanks for being here. How about giving us a little bit of background about you and how you got started in your business?
Sure. I was born and raised in Massachusetts and went to Northern Essex Community College for sign language interpreting and ended up working there in the sign language lab. Prior to working in the lab, I worked in the mental health field, and I had been injured in an incident at a locked psychiatric unit, and I had a spinal injury, and for years was putting off spinal surgery. Was working at Northern Essex, hoping to put off the surgery a little bit longer, and was introduced to yoga by my sister, who was using it to help with her scoliosis. So she thought that maybe the yoga would help with my putting off of surgery a little bit longer, because it was pretty invasive surgery.
Right.
And later she admitted she really just wanted me to quit smoking, which I also did. But working at the college, yeah, two for one. Working at the college, I started practicing Bikram Yoga regularly, and pretty much knew immediately, though, I really wanted to teach this yoga. So was practicing daily. There was no studio in the Merrimack Valley area. The closest studio was Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So was
Really? So you were driving up there?
Regularly driving to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, or to West Roxbury to take classes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really felt like right away it was more of a calling to the yoga than just practicing yoga.
Okay. And that's how you got involved. And what was it about the Bikram Yoga that you liked so much?
Having an injury made it difficult to do a lot of other yoga. I had a neck injury and a shoulder injury. So a lot of the sun salutations, what we think of downward dog, what we think of as yoga, is very hard on the body that has that kind of injury. Okay. In Bikram Yoga, we don't do any of that. Actually, Bikram Yoga is designed for injured bodies to heal themselves.
Is it really? Talk to me a little bit about
that. The founder of the
works.
yoga was injured in a weightlifting accident and had injured both his knees and went back to his yoga teacher, and his teacher helped him rehab his knees. He put together this series of 26 postures that no matter what injury you have to your body, one of these postures is the one to help fix it. He worked as a yoga therapist for a long time, where you'd specifically pick a posture for the injury that you were treating.
Oh my gosh.
And he put together this series that was designed more to fit almost every body. Regardless of what condition you come in as, it's designed to be a healing yoga.
Okay, so it's not stressful on your joints or...
No.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about it. I know the room is set at 105 degrees.
It is set at 105 degrees with 40% humidity. So we make you warm and sweaty right away. There's a lot of benefit to being in the heat. When you're in heat, it's a healing yoga, so when you're in heat over your body temperature, scar tissue in your body will start to soften, and then you can stretch it more easily. Also, making you sweat means you don't overheat in class, because we have you sweating, which sounds really counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But the heat is also a component of making you concentrate on what you're doing in the moment. Because the first battle for a lot of students is just getting used to the heat. It can take a couple classes, 3 or 4 classes, but just getting to learn to focus your mind away from the heat into what you're physically doing is a great mental challenge.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'd be standing there going, okay, I'm too hot, let me out.
People do sometimes have that reaction. We tell people they need to sit down and rest, sit down and rest. Give yourself a couple classes to get used to the heat, and then we find usually after a few classes, students love the heat. They come in and they say, I can't wait to get in the hot room.
This year, I bet they loved it a lot this winter.
Yes. We've been pretty busy this year.
I can imagine.
Just defrosting people.
Yeah, the last couple of days have been definitely those kind of days that they'd want to be inside and get warm.
Yeah, but there's a lot of benefit to the heat. Plus, you're able to stretch right away. You're not waiting for the body to warm up to stretch. The muscles stretch much more easily because we warm them up ahead of time.
So less injury.
Way less injury, yeah. We always say, no pain, no pain. This is a healing yoga, and pain is never a healing sensation. So we just practice taking care of yourself. The same idea of if you're overwhelmed by the heat, to just sit down, because it's your job to take care of you in the room, and we're training you to learn how to take care of yourself when you're not in the room.
That's great. Yeah. Listen to your body and do what it needs.
Creating that mind-body connection.
Awesome. Going to have to come to a class.
There you go.
I read a quote on an online yoga site, and it defined yoga as yoga is a holistic package for happy living. It provides techniques to unite the mind, body, and breath and connect the inner core of our being, the spiritual aspects of our lives. So, based on that, how do you define spirituality in connection with your yoga practice?
We have no dogma attached to our specific yoga. Some yogas are based on different religious beliefs, but we don't have that. There's no religious undertones to our yoga. It's really a hatha yoga. It's a physical yoga practice. We focus mostly on asana. But learning to quiet your mind leaves room for you to connect deeper with your own self. Whatever spirituality you already bring to the room, whether you practice a religion or you don't practice a religion, having a place where your mind is quiet and allows you to listen to your own self or to some deeper sense of self or some universal sense of self.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of people, they do a lot of talking out to that spirituality. We like to focus on listening in on that spirituality.
To get a message.
To get that message, yeah.
So it really is the whole mind, body, spirit connection.
Absolutely. And we believe that for a lot of people, you can't come to your sense of mind and spirit until you can have some control over your body. Meaning healed, healthy, well-adjusted body allows you to sit for periods of time, to be quiet in your own mind. You're not thinking about, my back hurts, my knee hurts, my shoulder hurts. You know, when you can sit down and be quiet without aches and pains, which is how yoga was originally developed, was to allow monks to meditate for longer periods of time without physical intrusion.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we create that hatha yoga, that physical yoga practice allows the body to be healed in a way that allows you to connect even more with your mind.
Okay. So hatha means physical?
Any yoga that moves is
Okay.
hatha yoga.
Okay. And asana?
Well, there's a lot of different branches of yoga, but hatha yoga is the physical yoga that moves, that uses asana.
Okay.
So asana is yoga postures. So we practice yoga
Okay.
postures as our yoga practice. I think that's what most people think of when they think of yoga, but there are other types of yoga that connect to the breath, that connect to the spirit in different ways. But we practice hatha yoga, which is physical yoga.
I know I've had people say to me, well, I look at yoga as exercise. Is that how you look at it, or is it more of a spiritual?
For some people that come in, because we're practicing physical yoga, asana, many people come to this practice for physical reasons. They have a bad back, they have an injured body, they want to relieve physical stress, illness. That's what brings them in the room. But that leads to something else with a continued practice. So first you get the body in order. Then that starts to create that mind-body connection. Hatha yoga consists of pose and repose. By definition, it's pose and repose. Holding a posture in stillness, releasing the posture, holding your body in stillness, always breathing normal. So creating that place where you're connecting the body, the quiet, and the breathing.
Okay. Now, how long do you hold a pose for?
Very short, 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Some of them a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter. Our yoga is different than what a lot of people think of as yoga. I teach the class from the front of the room. I stand on a podium with a microphone. I talk for 90 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
I don't actually do the postures with you. I watch the class do the postures. And what I give you is step-by-step directions on how to get in and out of each posture safely, effectively with good technique. So it's different than a lot of yoga practice, but this allows us to watch the room and give you all the directions you need. Plus that 90 minutes of talking, we use the same words. Every teacher using the same words, the same directions, becomes this moving meditation. Where we're talking to the body. We're telling the body what to do, so the body goes, but the mind can be quiet.
That's interesting. Can you expand on that a little bit and just tell me a little bit about what the words are that you use, or wouldn't it be any?
Really simple step by step. Feet together, right foot steps to the right, arms overhead, palms touch. I mean, it's really very basic instructions that everyone can follow.
Okay.
We expect people to try to follow the directions to the best of their ability. We don't modify postures, we modify depth. So if all you can do is bring your arms overhead and you can't do the next step, that's okay. You do that first step, and when you continue to keep doing it in a regular practice, that will give you the strength, the flexibility, and the balance to move to the next step, which is why you can be a brand new beginner in my class and you can be practicing for 20 years, and you're still going to get something out of it. For beginners, that dialogue is what we call it. That script that we use to tell you how to get in and out of the postures is a way to keep you in the room with us mentally, so your mind doesn't wander off.
Okay.
You're very focused on the heat, the directions, and what we're all doing. Over time, I think students become less invested in what we're saying. We talk and the body does it, and that creates the place where their mind can be quiet. It's like reciting a prayer or reciting a poem over and over again. That never changes, and so that creates that place where it becomes the meditation. It becomes the chant in the background that your body's moving to, so your mind can be very quiet.
That's interesting, that it's the chant in the background.
Yeah.
So that's where the spirituality comes in.
Sure. Yeah, to be able to quiet your mind so that you can listen to your own spirit. The problem is we live in this world where it's always busy and there's always noise and there's always all this stuff going on. It's very hard to learn to be quiet. And you can sit in a quiet room with a little candle and have your 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes of meditation practice. But when we can teach you to be in a traffic jam with the heat in your car not really quite working, so it's too warm, and the baby's complaining in the back, and you've got ice cream melting, and you can take that moment and be quiet in your own body. We teach you to do that.
That's amazing. I just thinking about that whole scenario, to be able to just sit back and sort of breathe and go with the moment.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But you've practiced being in a hot room with a teacher who keeps talking with a lot of other sweaty people and being quiet in yourself. That's why it's a practice. We practice how to be there despite everything else that's going on.
Over and over.
And over.
Very interesting. Tell me a little bit about the classes. Age-wise?
We put everybody in the same class. So every class is designed for beginners. And everybody's a beginner. I don't care how long you've been practicing, there's always something new to learn about the posture, about yourself, about being in that room and being with each other and practicing with other people. So we have people as young as, our youngest student is 8. Children
Really?
have come to this class, they're required to come with a parent. High school students can come without a parent. They practice just the last portion of the class. We do a 90-minute class. The first 2/3 of that are standing postures, which is actually more like a warm-up to get ready for the true yoga that happens on the floor. Children don't need to warm up their muscles and their joints and all that way because they still made out of rubber bands and bubble gum. So they just come in
creepy like some of us.
They haven't learned to ruin their spines yet. So they come in just
Or
for
their
the
knees
floor.
or their ankles.
But most of our students run in the high school and up. So, you know, our regular students are 14, 15, 16, up until 70s and 80s. We put them all in the same room. Whether you're rehabbing an injury, pregnant student, small child, elderly person, you have arthritis, no matter what's wrong with you, just come in the room and be in the room with everybody else. And that helps everybody to be in that moment of sort of that collective energy of helping each other through the practice, because we all do the same postures together. So we have students that sit in a chair to practice that have had surgeries or hip replacements or illnesses or injuries. And then we have international yoga champions who practice right next to them.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's an amazing job that I have, to go in the room and just watch people learn to heal their own bodies, and then their own spirit, and then their own sense of who they are changes, and they're quieter, and they just learn so much about themselves, and all I have to do is read this very simple roadmap to them every time they come in the room.
What a service.
Yeah.
Sort of, I think I'm getting a sense from you working at Northern Essex and doing sign language, and now doing this. You really like helping people.
I do. That's sort of, I come from that family. My father is a retired firefighter. My grandfather's a police officer. We have nurses and doctors and pharmacists and
Helping people.
yeah, helping. We teachers. We come from that sort of helping profession mentality, and so in a lot of those, you're going in and helping people. That in what I do, people come to me looking to already make a change, so it's easier.
Yeah, I don't think you'd put yourself in a 105-degree room if you didn't want to change.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's an extreme for most people.
Right.
To put themselves in that
But
kind
remember,
of
it's
situation.
not that much over your own body temperature.
That's true. I hadn't thought about it that
so
way.
we just want
That's
to
right.
get
It
you a
just
little bit
sounds
over your
hot.
body
Yeah.
temperature
Okay.
to get you moving, get you sweating, get that scar tissue to stretch, get the oxygen in your blood to move into the muscles at a little bit higher rate of speed, which means you don't get lactic acid response, which means you don't get that kind of sore muscles afterwards.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's delve a little bit more into the spiritual side of Teri Almquist.
Yeah.
And tell me about your daily, do you have a daily spiritual practice, or does your practice come while you're teaching yoga?
I think that my spiritual practice comes every moment of the day, but I do my regular yoga practice. In a perfect world, I'd love to practice yoga every day, and even though I own the studio, that's not always easy. There's only so much time you can spend in the 105-degree room every day. So I practice probably 3 to 5 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. I also do a seated meditation practice when I can, but it's about that every day trying to be in the moment. Just not letting anything really affect sort of that steadiness of the day. That peacefulness of the day, yeah. Don't let anything steal your peace. And having the ability to, because I've practiced, we call it a yoga practice, because I've practiced controlling the breath, calming my nervous system down, that in that moment when something happens that affects my nervous system that way, I have techniques that I've learned in the room to keep me in that calmness. So I think everything is yoga. Like everything I do during my day is in many ways a yoga practice.
Just a very peaceful way of looking at things and maybe being able to say, I'm not going to let that upset me.
Right.
I'm just not going there, and we're just going to keep breathing and get right through it.
Yeah. And that's what students learn. We all have stress. I have stress. You have stress. You know, even the most spiritual person has stress.
Right.
What we teach in this class that I teach is putting stress on the body and then learning to calm your nervous system back down so you don't have the long-term effects of stress. So teaching your body to use your breath, controlling the breath, calming the heart rate down. That's the idea of pose and repose. So putting stress on the body, releasing the posture, then we lay still in Savasana, and we teach the body to calm down. So when something stressful happens and that stressful moment is over, you have a practice of going back to your breath, to calming the body, to relaxing the muscles, and then you let go of that stress and you come back to that place of peace.
That's amazing. It must be such a healthy thing for people. I'm just sitting here thinking while you're talking, what a healing, not just for an achy joint or, you know, a sore wrist. It's really for your whole body, your whole self.
That emotional healing, you know, it's a beautiful thing to watch people come in the room and say, I'm just here because I injured my knee running and I'm just going to do some yoga while I can't run. And then they find something else in the practice that keeps them coming. And it keeps them able to run. It keeps you able to do the things you love to do, even into old age. So as most people are giving up their sort of activities that they've always done because of an aging body, when you can bring that body back to balance, flexibility, and strength, you can continue to ski and run and do all those things that you want to do. And it's wonderful to watch people. For many people, that's their spirituality. It's not the yoga, but it's the running, it's the skiing, it's the being able to go to the park with their kids. Being able to do those kind of things is so healing to their life. To be able to sleep well through the night. For a lot of people.
What a gift.
Yeah. So the yoga can help them get there, and it's wonderful to watch that happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know we've talked the last few months with the different guests we've had about spirituality and how people find it in different places. Some of us go to the ocean.
Right.
Others go to church. So it's very interesting, to think of it in this way, that you can get it from your yoga practice by learning how to be peaceful.
Yeah, by practicing that technique. Then, but when you say go to the ocean or go to church, those are just a place to be with ourselves.
Right.
Those are the environments
sort of
we create.
calming.
Yeah.
The calming sense of being able to be someplace that you just let it go.
Right.
And just think about you.
Yeah. I end every class the same way, saying, give yourself a moment, thank yourself for coming, and giving yourself this gift of 90 minutes to focus on the most important person in your life, which is you.
That's a wonderful way to look at it. Most of us don't look at things that way.
That's right.
We don't think of that as a gift to ourselves.
But when you're on the airplane and they give you that little speech and they say, before you put on somebody else's oxygen mask, please put on your own.
Yeah.
So when you can take time to figure out how to breathe, that gives you more time. It seems like such a big time commitment. That's what a lot of students say when they come in the beginning is 90 minutes. I don't know that I can come regularly for 90 minutes. Can't you teach me 30 minutes of yoga? Can't you teach me 60 minutes of yoga? It takes 90 minutes to work your whole body, and with that time, it gives you more time. It's hard to figure that out as an outsider looking in. But by having this consistent 90-minute practice, actually makes you more efficient, more focused, more able to dedicate and be disciplined in what you're actually doing outside the room, so that you have more time.
That's interesting. Yeah. It really gives you an awful lot more than you'd think.
Yeah. And the way our classes are designed as well, that we have, most days we have 5 classes a day. Some days we have, on the weekends we have 3. But any student come to any class on the schedule. So you don't have to, the only person you make a commitment to is you, not to us. But you can walk in at any time that we offer a class and take that class. And you don't have to do it at 9 o'clock on Tuesday or only 7 p.m. on Thursday. That today, your day is available. You can come at 7 a.m., but tomorrow you can't come till 5 p.m. That's okay. You come to the class that works in your schedule, but you can still give yourself that time to be in the room and be focused on you.
It's a nice way to think of it sort of as a gift to yourself.
It is a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift that a lot of people think they can't give themselves. But when you start having a practice, you realize it's the gift you give to everybody else that you take care of as well.
True.
Because when you're calmer, when you're able, then you're better able to care for other people. So.
And better able to work with other people.
Sure. And we have no expectations in the room other than you do the best you can with what you have today. We had a student who came whose husband was quite ill and actually in hospice at home, who came every day and she would just take a nap on the floor for 90 minutes. But that was her sleep for the day because that was where her life was. So that was the best she could do on that day, and that was enough. But she gave herself that 90 minutes to be in that room with people who were supportive of her too. We're very much a community of practitioners. People can come in and just do their yoga and leave and not feel like they need to be part of the community, but we do community challenges, we do community fundraising, we have students who support each other in lots of ways. We have a nice hallway that the students, you came by and saw the studio, that after class and before class students sit in this hallway and chat with each other and catch up and how are your kids and what's going on. And it's a wonderful opportunity.
Like a family.
Yeah, it does feel that way sometimes, very much like a family.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who don't have those kinds of supports.
Right.
So I imagine for them that's a very nice place to be.
And because we have everybody in the room together, that support system is the older student who's like your grandmother, or the younger student who's like your sister, or the guy who's 2 mats over from you who reminds you of your dad who maybe isn't around anymore, but is going to give you that little speech of like, come back tomorrow, we'll see you then. So it's a nice place to create that environment of other family. Because, and for a lot of people, I think that's missing. We're such a mobile world and people don't have that sense of even knowing their neighbors anymore.
Right.
But you come in that room and sweat with somebody for 90 minutes, it's a whole different relationship.
Get to know each other real well.
Well, and also, what do you share with family is often the hard times and the struggles and the joy, and we try to celebrate all of that.
That's
wonderful. We have pregnant women that come in and then they come back when their babies are born and they bring the pictures and the kids stop in to say hello. And so we celebrate all of that we celebrate all of life in the room. The good, the bad, the whatever, and we all do it in the same room, on the same mats, doing the same posture, So you might be a janitor and the person next to you is a doctor. You don't know that. So that everybody starts on this sort of even playing field too, which creates a really interesting environment of who ends up being friends or people who often have no other platform to meet each other outside that room.
And it sounds like a very peaceful, welcoming place to be.
It's a very welcoming place. Saturday morning before class might not be described as peaceful. It's more like a family reunion, and there's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of hugging and joy, and and we have quiet at the end of class. We ask people to be quiet at the end of class, but we also give it a place where people can talk to each other and get support. And oftentimes a new person comes in and they're a little bit nervous and they're a little concerned and it's hot, and they can put their mat down, and the regular students can see them and go right over and say, is this your first time? Don't worry, you'll be fine. I remember my first class. So it creates this other level of support system too in our community, which is nice.
How would you, and you sort of touched on that, what advice would you give to someone who's interested in trying yoga as part of their spiritual practice?
Just try it. Take
Just
that
go
first
for it,
step.
huh?
Just go. Just show up. You don't have to, most yoga studios, you don't even need to bring much with you. They have mats, they have whatever you need. You just go and just see how it goes. Give yourself, this would be my good advice though, give yourself at least 3 or 5 classes before you make up your mind. And if you go to a yoga that doesn't speak to you, try something else. There's lots of different styles of yoga. We like to think at Bikram Yoga that we're accessible to everybody. So just come to a class. But if you don't think you like it, try a couple times before you make that decision. Because sometimes when you open that little door to your internal self, it's hard to look at it at first. And so give yourself a couple times to come and be uncomfortable and create a level of comfort with being in your own skin, on your own mat, in your own place, in your own mind. Because that's part of it, is you come in with this mind that's very busy and has all these thoughts, and it's very hard to quiet that. And so it feels like overwhelming when you're trying to quiet your mind and quiet your body. So we keep your body and your mind quite busy in my class so that it's easier. And over time, when you learn to quiet, that comes to you as you practice. But give yourself a couple classes. If you're looking to start a yoga journey, give yourself a few tries before you make up your mind about any particular class.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. This has been a wonderful time to chat. And I have one last quote that I'm going to read and close out the show with, and it says, "Happiness is the spiritual experience of living every minute with love, grace, and gratitude."
I like it.
And I think that says a lot about you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all very much for joining us tonight. I hope you'll come back next time on It's About the Journey. Good night.